Your ship drifts through the glittering waves of the ethereal expanse. The sea itself roils with shimmering sapphire, emerald, and rose. Its depths bloom with countless specks of starlight and pulsing nebulas that scatter their vibrant colors. The sky above mirrors the ethereal sea below as you journey through this midnight dreamscape. The Ethereal Expanse is a beautiful yet dangerous campaign world for 5e, with endless scope for different types of adventures. But being on the Astral Plane, it's also connected to 1,000 other worlds that your party could also explore, or perhaps even hail from. My name is Ben Byrne, and this is how to create your own role-playing adventures set on the Ethereal Expanse. The Ethereal Expanse is an extraplanar setting, meaning that it's sort of a world between worlds. Portals to other planes of existence open onto the Expanse, spilling out many different peoples and cultures. Some of these portals lead to the elemental planes, and yet others could lead to even stranger or darker realms. The Ethereal Expanse is honestly the first extraplanar setting that's actually captured my interest, and I think that's because it doesn't just feel like an excuse for off-the-wall gonzo D&D adventures. The Expanse feels like a place with a history and an established culture and clashing ideals, and therefore real stakes for engrossing thematic storytelling. There are new ancestries that the players can choose for their characters that aren't just unique to the Expanse, but only exist because of it, such as the Astral Emergent, which rises up out of the ethereal sea. The Expanse has an identity that's entirely its own. It has a visual language that feels high fantasy and otherworldly, yet also wistful and specific. The Expanse doesn't just feel like a plot device for realm hopping, like an endless corridor of doors that lead to more interesting places, like the infinite staircase or the ethereal realm can sometimes feel. I prefer the dreamlike midnight aesthetic of the Expanse over the brown, harsh shapes of the city of Sigil. And the Expanse doesn't just feel like a random hodgepodge soup of frivolous ideas and memey tropes thrown together like Spelljammer kinda does. The Expanse doesn't feel so endless and infinite that personal stakes become meaningless in the grand calculus of the multiverse, yet there is still vast room to introduce your own characters and adventuring ideas. Perhaps your own homebrew world has a portal that opens out onto the Ethereal Expanse, unlocking an entirely new scope of adventures for your D&D party to partake in. Or maybe you start a new campaign that is specifically about the Expanse, and from there you're able to branch into different genres and stories that interest you most. The Expanse is a beautiful canvas with established cultures and textures that make it come alive and feel real, yet there is still many different types of stories that can be told on its glittering starlit waves. And that's where you come in. What lurks in the deepest, darkest regions of the ethereal sea? What aberrant horrors could swim in its depths or exist in the darkness between stars? What danger does the beauty of Aether conceal? The Ethereal Expanse is the perfect setting to contrast its gorgeous and dreamlike visuals with a very dark and frightening secret. What omen does the appearance of a spectral ghost ship portend? What happened to the sailors aboard? Does your party discover that the crew have all disappeared, yet their voices cry out in tortured unison from something that lurks in the lowest deck? Do their undead spirits continue to steer the shadowy vessel? Are they being captained by a whispering voice only they can hear? And you will too if you spend too long aboard. Do your party discover a new island on the ethereal sea that seems uninhabited at first, but slowly they uncover a hidden species of giant insects or parasitic biomorphs? These creatures are spilling from a portal to a cosmic realm, controlled by a malevolent hive mind with a will to invade and dominate the Expanse. The characters must escape before being devoured by the hive, and before their ship can be used as a way for the swarm to start spreading from the island. The Ethereal Expanse could be the home of a cult of a great old one, believing that this realm of stars is where their deities' aberrant heralds spawn from. Terrifying aberrations and monstrosities resembling sea monsters may drift above the Ethereal Expanse or swim beneath it, their beauty belying how dangerous they actually are. Just the aura of an algol, a monstrosity native to the Expanse, is enough to wither a character's strength, slowing their movement speed. An algol's breath spews forth a sickly light that burns with radiant damage and inflicts Aether poisoning, because even the ethereal sea itself is dangerous to mortals. Swimming in Aether can cause fever, hallucinations, and physical transmutation as your body begins to crystallize into Ethereum. This process can be at once beautiful and horrifying to behold. It is believed that the ethereal sea is either the essence of a dead and ancient deity, or the billion souls of a punished civilization. Being exposed to Aether either floods your body with the essence of a god, which it cannot survive, or you are being torn asunder by the spirits that float in the ethereal sea. Clearly, the Ethereal Expanse is ripe for tales of cosmic horror. But that's not all the setting can do, and it's not even what it was initially designed for, admittedly. Last week on the channel, we took a deep dive into the series Arcane to demonstrate that a dark fantasy story can be set in an aesthetically beautiful high fantasy world. I chose Arcane not just because it's one of my favorite series, but also because its colorful neon art style actually reminds me a lot of the Ethereal Expanse. It would be one of my creative touchstones for running a campaign there. And Arcane is also a fantastic example of how tense, morally complex, political, and personal conflicts can play out, even in a high fantasy backdrop. The Ethereal Expanse is famously torn between three main factions. The Caroline Empire spread from their home realm of Tholus, intent on dominating other civilizations and seizing their resources for themselves. The Kingdom of Eris is a smaller nation, but their merchant fleet nonetheless spreads across the Expanse, harvesting anything that can be sold or traded. The third known faction of the Expanse is not a unified people as such, but rather the pirates, the privateers, the independent explorers, and the common folk that also live across the Expanse. Between these three factions, and more that you can add yourself, conflicts on the Ethereal Expanse can be multifaceted and morally complex. You might play as a band of freedom fighters against the Caroline Empire's colonizing expansion. You might even start your campaign as Caroline agents before becoming disillusioned and defecting, your party forced to fight against the NPCs that they once called friends. Perhaps your own homebrew world has discovered the Expanse for the first time and must navigate the tense politics between the Caroline and the Eris whilst finding their own footing on the ethereal sea. Then an even greater cosmic threat might emerge from the depths of the Aether or another plane of existence, requiring your party to unite the individual nations whilst rooting out villains among them. The point is, there doesn't need to be designed heroes and villains in an Ethereal Expanse campaign, which make it the perfect backdrop for a tale of dark morality and political intrigue. Of course, the Expanse can also play home to more swashbuckling adventures of pirate kings and charming scoundrels. You could draw inspiration from a show like Black Sails, which depicts pirates as downtrodden and exiled from civilization just for wanting basic freedoms. The show demonstrates the complex and often violent politics aboard a pirate ship and between pirate captains. Black Sails shows how an infamous pirate king like Charles Vane and Edward Teach can be at once fearsome and yet also humanly flawed. But you can also take inspiration from high seas, high jinks adventures like Pirates of the Caribbean or Our Flag Means Death, or indeed the trailer for the Ethereal Expanse setting guide, which I'll throw a link for right there. Hunt for buried treasure on long lost islands, harass Arisian aristocrats and empty their holds, and sail across the sea of starlight wherever you and your crew decide. The Ethereal Expanse setting guide provides additional rules for your party to take up specific roles as the crew of a sailing ship and work together to capture a prize. You can buy, steal, or swindle your own boat with its own rules and stats. You can then choose to manage its supplies and furnish it with upgrades. There's even naval combat rules to punish any Arisian frigates or Caroline warships who dare to come after your crew. Starting as part of the crew of a pirate ship or forming a new crew with the party at its core is also the perfect way to begin a 5e campaign without everybody meeting in a tavern. Being part of a larger group gives the party a great reason to adventure together and an established common goal to work towards. The history and culture of their pirate crew and the party's role within it can all be created during a session 0. The players can even name their own pirate ship together. And then the first session of the campaign can kick off with them already sailing the ethereal sea in search of its cosmic secrets. Of course, a pirate ship isn't the only type of vessel that might be sailing the Aetherial Expanse. Your party could be explorers with a mandate to discover new and interesting places on the Expanse and through the realm portals that open onto it. You could run a campaign kind of almost like a Star Trek adventure, where each couple of sessions a gate to a new and peculiar realm is discovered. Or perhaps the player characters have heritages from all across the multiverse with personal quests that call them back home to spotlight a different player each week. Maybe your party are bounty hunters who take contracts on cosmic criminals or hunt down etheric monsters that have slipped into other realms. This planar hopping style of campaign could result in vastly different types of adventures session to session. One week could be filled with alien horror, and the next is a western defending a small village from desert raiders, and after that is a treasure heist in the Magitech city of Karel. Yet, for all the planar hopping hijinks, the Aetherial Expanse gives your party a distinct home to keep coming back to, the realm between realms. The adventure may then become about exploring all the strange and mystical corners of the Aetherial Expanse itself. That's its real strength as a planar setting, is that the Expanse is multifaceted and interesting and large enough to support entire campaigns without planar traveling at all. Yet all these portals spilling out onto the Expanse provide limitless possibilities for character creation and the types of adventures that can be run. If the Aetherial Expanse is a setting that speaks to you, Ghostfire is about to launch, or has just launched depending on when you're watching this, our Kickstarter for the Aetherial Expanse setting guide. By now, you know the sorts of adventures you could be having on the Aetherial Expanse, and this book gives you everything you need to get started. You can check out the Kickstarter for the Aetherial Expanse right here, or in the link in the description below, and check out the cinematic trailer up there as well. It is an absolute slapping song. It is amazing. Or you can check out this video about Arcane, which I think is the greatest dark fantasy tale ever told.